Oh boy. And I don't know if Danelle's going to be able to join on the app, but I've given her that option. So
Well, we are now live. Hello, internets. All right, I'm turning on. It says the feature is disabled for Q&A, so I just say we stick to the chat. It works.
okay.
And we have one viewer. Welcome, viewer.
Also, Ryan, share that link with Danelle real quick too, to her email address. You could again.
What link?
The link to the Hangout when you invite somebody there. If not, if you can't, then no, that's fine.
Hang on. Yeah.
All right, for those of you watching or joining us, we'll be going here in a second. I'm going to check the live feed on the webpage real quick.
Okay. All right. Who's ready?
It's functioning on the webpage, so that's good. All right, you want to go ahead and start it off. Once again, welcome everybody to the Helix, the first fan cast of season 2. Now that the premiere has launched and aired in the U.S. and Canada, in North America, we wanted to get together a few of our friends from the Twitterverse and the internets to talk about all things Helix for about half an hour. Do you want to go ahead and explain what we're going to do, Ryan, and get started?
Yes, sir. My name is Ryan Boyles. I am here in slightly chilly Wake Forest, North Carolina. We are going to have fun for about 30 minutes here. We've got some neat things planned. I basically am going to start out with an icebreaker. We're going to put some images up on screen. We're going to see what people's gut reaction is to those random images. So, next, we'll have sort of a quick discussion on what we kind of were happy or not so happy about, the good, the bad, the ugly, with the season 1 finale from last year, and then the season 2 premiere from last week, which took the show in a very different direction. We're also going to sort of pose the burning questions that we ask on our podcast each week. We're going to resurface some of those and revisit from both last week and the finale from last year. So without further ado, are you ready? I want to introduce the folks that we have here in the chat as well. Let's go around the horn and have everyone sort of say hello. So Stephen, I'll have you start.
Hi, I'm Steve Sumner. I run and manage optimalhumanmodulation.com or ophuman.com. Glad to be here, by the way.
Cool. Very glad to finally meet you. We've been sort of corresponding via Twitter pretty much since the beginning of the Helix show itself. So very good to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up.
Oh, hi, I'm Hillary Holtman Lee. I'm from Sterling, Virginia, right outside Washington, D.C., and I'm a huge Helix fan. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, thank you. We're going to get right into it. So here comes random image number 1. You're going to like this one, I think. Here we go.
So that's from season 1 then.
It is from season 1. Very good. So my basic commentary here is I thought this effect was very cool, but kind of, I think Tim and I both thought it was kind of cheesy when they first did it. This looks like a model to me, though. I don't know what you guys think.
First thing I can think of is Chia Pet. That's when I think of.
I think in action it looked a lot better because it was more like sort of crystalline, and this looks very like, dried up Play-Doh.
Yeah. So, but help me out here. This is what I'm wondering about. Is it seemed like there wasn't a lot of explanation, at least that I can recall now. Season 1 being way behind us from last year, wasn't like a lot of explanation with how this particular reaction to the, the virus or the Narvik, what this reaction actually did other than create, make everyone scared. I don't know what you guys think.
No, if I remember correctly, it was there to show a biochemical reaction of the DNA and the intensity of the reaction once it meets whatever its catalyst is. I thought it was a pretty cool effect because I think from what I remember, it shows what actually happens inside a human being whenever the Narvik takes hold.
So you can have, is the idea that you could have one drop of this Narvik react with your blood and sort of just boom, sort of take over really fast?
I think to convey the intensity and the horror of what was happening at a molecular level. It was a full visual effect. It's the reason I'm so in love with Helix.
Yeah.
I'm very big on the site, we call it Bliss. And all of the directors and the directors of photography really know what they were doing, and it's one of the reasons why I'm in the show, because maybe no darn specific reason was given for showing this, it was still pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
That was the sequence where it was inside the plexiglass as well, right? And it kind of expanded into the hole, I think.
Yeah, I think they were exposing it to an element, but I don't remember which one, and that's what elicited such a violent reaction from it.
Well, I think we see it twice, because I think we see it with Doreen and Bioceros, and then I think we see it later with Sarah and Farragut and maybe Julia.
Hmm.
So I have another one for us really quick. This one is sort of a moment that I thought was very much... to me, this is one of those first special moments in the show.
Yeah.
Because you had the two pretty much main characters, obviously a lot of strife and unresolved stuff going on, but you saw that it looked like they were husband and wife, even though they had been split up. For me, what did you guys think?
Personally, one of the reasons I keep going back, and one of the reasons why I've written so much about the show, is because of Kira Zagorski. I think a lot of producers and studios today think, just put someone who's in there, someone who's easy on the eyes. But then once they start rolling, start to realize that the person can't act, and they just had a good agent. And Kira Zagorski, who obviously, unquestionably, is aesthetically pleasing, at least to those who like the female form. She's also, you can tell that she's a true craftsman, and her ability to utilize subtlety and nuance with even the most simplest of lines blows me away. And in that scene right there, it's you're right. I thank you for showing that pic, because it does bring back the memory of the wonders of the first season, and that was a very powerful scene. At least, I thought so, and I agree with you wholeheartedly.
All right, I'm gonna keep going rapidly through these. The next one, I want Tim's reaction to this one. This is.
Oh, okay.
This is well, for me, Tim and I are both horror fans to begin with, so seeing all the makeup effects and whatnot, very cool for us. And Neil really got into it. We've talked to him about it on the show, but for me, this was just it was a neat creepy thing.
For me, I would say the first thing that comes to mind, based upon the fact that we've talked with Neil a few times, is mouthful of almond milk.
I did not know that.
He went into great detail because we asked him how it tasted, the black goo, and he said actually it's pretty good, because apparently what they do is they flavor up almond milk with this black substance, and he says it tastes kind of like a combination of berry and almond milk.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now. That he said it was very tasty. Narvik is very tasty.
That great makeup. I really enjoyed a lot of the makeup effects in the first season. So
All right.
It was less grotesque than what
I've got one last one from season 1, and this one is going to lead to more discussion tonight, I'm sure. However, I got to give a shout out to my boy, Mark. So what do you jump in here, Hillary? Is there any reaction to Mark here?
I don't, when I was watching the season 2 opener, I was like madly tweeting it, and every like female that I talked to was like, "Did you see Mark's name? Did you see Mark's name?" And then like you don't see him in the whole first episode. And personally, I'm a Miguel kind of girl myself, but and I know Danelle just showed up, and she is also a Miguel lady. But Mark has a lot of fans out there, and the character, the character, I don't think Ballesteros can just drop out.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think we've seen the last of #Shirtless Saros. That's what we call him.
I think the photographer basically just said, "Mark, we want you to stand in what you think is a macho pose."
Yeah, I love these promo shots from season 1 because
Hilarious.
they are very. I don't know. I think it's always funny to go back and look at promos from previous seasons of shows that you watch, for many years. Mm-hmm. The progression, very interesting. So Danelle, welcome to the call. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. We're glad you could make it on the call. I know sometimes Google switches stuff up on us so much that we've had quite a few technical difficulties. So we appreciate you going through the frustration of hopping on the call.
Don't say that out loud. They're listening.
All right, well, you missed the first segment. I don't know if you were able to see some of the pictures, but we can kind of go over those in the replay as well. But the next thing we wanted to do was talk about the season 1 finale itself. Is before we talk about the season 2 premiere. Basically, the good, the bad, the ugly, what we liked, what we didn't like. Start off with the finale. Ryan, do you want to kick that off?
Well, I went back and watched the season again this summer. I watched it on Blu-ray, which for me was very, very cool because I watched the live broadcast in basic cable. So seeing it in HD was kind of cool. But the episode itself, I really liked it because it looked like it expanded the universe of the show in an interesting way. So I enjoyed the twists, the time shifting. I was down with that. So I just want to hear what everybody else thought.
I was happy with the way the scythe worked because as soon as they introduced a teenage character, I instantly had this few-year producer somewhere saying, "Get the teenage boy in so that we can get teenage girls into the show." And also, I have a huge problem with young actors because many of them just can't act. But he was intense, and he was very, very, very good. I was happy how things turned with the side. I'm curious to see how if he'll ever be reintroduced into the show. And I'll stop right there because I can guarantee you I could talk for the next hour. But anything related to Helix, so maybe we should let someone else get their say in.
Any comment, Danelle? I want to hear from you
About the finale of season 1.
Yeah.
Major cliffhanger, which left me whining for months because I wanted to know what happened to everybody. Miguel especially, obviously, but the rest of the crew too. We stopped Sergio. We don't know what happened to Anana. So yeah, I whined. I'm still whining a little bit, but I think it was a perfect ending to the first season of a new show. They did an amazing job.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that I guess the only thing that I'm really wondering about is I feel like there were questions posed by the finale that obviously they haven't been resolved yet with the season premiere, because the season premiere really takes us in a different direction. And so for the folks that are new to Helix that might be listening to this, season 1 was very much about being trapped underground, and with no way out, and then it kind of spins out in different crazy directions with the Ilaria Corporation and whatnot. But season 2 kind of resets that to some degree, I think, because we don't really know if where Ilaria is at this point. I mean, we know that, of course, we had the finale cliffhanger with, with Jules being sort of at the head of the table, if you will. But we're not sure where she stands now, other than the press media packet that tells us that she's fighting against, the folks. So what do you guys think about this transition?
We're jumping the chasm from season 1 to season 2, and I think we touched upon some of the things that kind of we were scratching our heads about on the last episode of the podcast, talking about San Jose. But I think one of the, and not necessarily season 2, but one of the things that bridges season 2 apparently, and we need to talk about this some more as we go, and maybe this needs to be more than half an hour, who knows, because like Steven said, he can talk for an hour about Helix. I'm sure each of us individually also can. But apparently this new character that's in season 2 now, that was in San Jose, Caleb, apparently was in 5 episodes of last season.
Really?
What?
Okay, Mary Powers noticed that this was on Internet Movie Database, and we're not sure. I believe it was Mary Powers who first noticed it, and we're not sure if it's an error.
Yeah.
That it's meant to be the first 5 episodes of season 2, and it was just mistyped or whatever as season 1.
Because I'd feel like a real dummy if I missed.
Are we talking about the guy who is with Julia?
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody asked me if that's Sarah's son grown up.
I think there's a lot of thought about that, yeah. But the actor himself has been, I believe he tweeted that was incorrect.
Okay.
It was not in season 1.
Oh, okay. Because I know that on the discussion forum today, even on the discussion forum, it was basically called out. Someone said, how can you explain the fact that he was in season 1? It's 5 episodes, and I think that, maybe everybody kind of needs to take a step back and say that was a mischaracterization. So.
Yeah. I know that people are thinking he's Sarah's child. But I think because in season 1, how there was such a strong importance on the connection between Hitake and Julia, that this might be her son. What is that?
With who?
I'm wondering if she eventually got back together with Alan.
Or Peter.
I'm wondering if Caleb is Julia's son. Is what I'm thinking of. And then my other theory related to this, to the whole 30 years in the future, is they also played around with people having hallucinations. And even though it says 30 years in the future, I'm wondering if it truly is.
But we haven't had any reason to distrust the timeline before.
This is Helix.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen.
All bets are off.
Yeah.
I know. I know what you mean. I still am sticking to my Sarah theory because I was sort of wondering if Caleb, is her child with Alan from the stress relief package that they were doing in season 1, and then. Does that mean that she doesn't maybe she doesn't make it through season 2 with whatever is going to unfold, and he raises this child on the island? Because it kind of makes us think about another burning question of the week from the premiere is, it's revealed in the time shift that Alan is 6 feet under, right out in the courtyard of the Abbey. So how long has he been dead? How long was he there, sort of in the Abbey with the group of nice people that want to help everyone? And, does that mean that he raised Caleb on the island and that's why Caleb is still there, sort of overseeing, whatever life he has left there.
Is it possible that he faked his death?
Well, that's the classic soap opera trope, I would think, and
Maybe for protection?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is too is that obviously whoever this character is knows of Alan, because Julia specifically asked. He's like, "Oh, as a matter of fact, I do know, and you're not going to be happy when you find out," kind of thing. But it just seemed like it was too casual for him to know everything in terms of the storyline about this guy. And by the way, here's his grave. It didn't seem to fit unless there was more of a connection there, at least for me.
And my question is, when he saw her eyes, he obviously was testing to see if she was an immortal. But was it because he knew she was, or suspected she might be Julia?
Not happy with this.
Or was he just looking to see if that was anyone who was an immortal?
Funny.
I'm not getting no audio. This is
That's a good point.
ridiculous.
I just thought it was brilliant when the scene with the tweezers was. Okay, why are we listening to Blondie now?
Well, we had another person trying that I invited to join the chat, but I think they're having technical difficulties. So
Okay.
I'm gonna clean it up there.
I struggled with the tweezers scene a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Just because I wear contacts generally, and it's sort of improbable to remove them with pointy tweezers. I mean,
Well,
I really...
What it makes me think of is when it came time to write a review for Season 2, Episode 1, I don't know if any of you read what I wrote, but I was like, because we can sit here and talk for the next 12 hours about who is whose child, who lives, who dies, and it's a story. People are going to live, people are going to die, there's going to be all kinds of ins and outs, but what makes Helix especially brilliant for me is the camera work, is the use of tension, is Reinhold Heil's music. And even though I already knew that he was going for the contacts, but when the camera pulls back and you get that side shot of him leaning over her with the tweezers, I'm like, I know he's going for the contacts, but I'm still very, very uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, it's creepy as hell. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's where the brilliance lies. It's like anyone can take a story, but it's what Stephen Maida and Ronald D. Moore and everyone else involved does with that. To me, that makes the show so special. So yeah, that scene with the tweezers, oof, beautiful.
Yeah, I had a chance to read your write up on San Jose. I really enjoy kind of taking a look at your dissections, and we talk about it on the show all the time because you tend to go a lot deeper in certain areas than we do. We tend to cover somewhat of a different take on the episodes that you do. So I think it's very complementary, the styles. But one thing that everyone's been talking about is the departure or the differences from season 1 to season 2. And let's be frank, there are some differences. It's obviously a different locale. There are several plot. Everyone talks about all the different plot lines that are not resolved at this point in time. We don't know about Tuluk and Anana and a lot of the different. Where's the scythe? Because he was on the helicopter getting away. All the different things. So there's a lot of different questions to be answered, and I think the initial reaction, at least from those that liked Helix for certain reasons in season 1. There's kind of been, I wouldn't say a revolt, but kind of a, to quote Star Wars, I've got a bad feeling about this kind of, because it is a departure. It's a little bit of a different tone. It's stepping back. They're using the same music. And one thing that Ryan and I noticed is they used, obviously, Do You Know the Way to San Jose? They used the song again, and honestly, I don't know if it fit in the way it did. It wasn't as eerie as it was in an echoey, claustrophobic biosystems hallway, that kind of.
No, I hear you. It's to me, if I'll be honest, if this were the first season, I might not have become fascinated as quickly as I had with the first, because my mind turned towards science fiction, Arctic biome, stuff that. And the thing is, though, and this is going to sound odd, I'm finding the second season already more scary. And I don't know if it's because in an Arctic biolab, it's confined. You're like, okay, everything is here, and it was
But
more
they're
about
still setting up
suffocation.
Yeah, they're still setting
Ah,
up that locked room murder mystery kind of atmosphere on this island.
Yeah.
You know,
it-
it's just not. It's just a different atmosphere.
it's a different atmosphere, and it's scarier, a little more intense. It's one thing, black goo coming out of someone's mouth, but the dental scene at the end of this one, when I was trying to find screenshots, oh, brutal, brutal.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and there are some
so-
gifs. There are already some gnarly gifs of that kind of stuff on Tumblr that are
yeah.
interesting. But let me recast this question a little bit, because I've seen lots of commentary both in the Facebook group that we're all a member of, as well as on Twitter. Like, I see people just randomly commenting today. They're getting caught up on the premiere episode, and there was this question of, does it remind us of other shows that we already have watched or liked or something? You know, is it not different enough, or is it, you know, I am very much with Danelle in that this is the first episode, and the writers are really wicked and smart, so they are, you know, they have some definitely some creepy things in store for us. But what do you think about all that sort of commentary, all the comparisons?
I'll chime in real quick and then kind of concede to everyone else. But obviously, the comparisons that everyone's talking about right now are Lost. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's kind of like Lost. It's an island and everything." But I'll kind of say, okay, yeah, there could be some comparisons to Lost and the Dharma Initiative, and you know, the other group of people that were inhabiting the island before, because there's a group of people inhabiting the island. If that's where the similarities might end, other than the fact that they're mysterious at this point. Okay, and also it reminds me a little bit of. I apologize, spoilers of The Walking Dead. If you've not seen The Walking Dead, I'm sorry, but plug your ears. But People at Terminus kind of reminds me of that vibe too, in terms of The Walking Dead. And I like both of those vibes between Walking Dead and Lost, and I'll leave it at that. So
But is that
happy.
not maybe because those are just tropes that occur in horror frequently?
Yeah,
I mean, it is
kind of horror themes in general. Yeah.
You know, the culty people that, you know, what's their secret? What are they hiding?
Mhm.
You know, you could point that in any number of horror, sci-fi type genre stuff.
I think the more interesting questions now are, with this season, you know, what are the motivations of some of these new characters, or even the ones, like I said, that were not resolved in season one. I mean, we had these cliffhangers with Julia, with Peter. You know,
I want to know what's going on with Peter. That's what's making me
not knowing
crazy.
their allegiances. We don't know their allegiances yet. He's showing up as Captain America on the first episode of this season, kind of leading the troop. And I'm even asking myself, how did he get through the interview process to get back in the CDC? You know,
No doubt.
but with questions like that, it's more like, you know, what is the motivation of this brother Michael character? You know, is he the Hataki of this season, and he's the guy sort of cooking up a new germ for Ilaria? Is it that simple? I don't think it can be that simple. I don't know.
Man, first, yeah, there are 1,000 things I could say right now. One regarding tropes. Last week I saw someone saying, do we need another movie with the trope of the one being the savior? And I was like, are you kidding me? That's been around for 3,000 years. That idea. And it's the same thing with this show. It's like, I can see how, and Steve made his mind, and the rest of the producers, they could have either kept it the same as season one, but what they did instead was they hired a bunch of different new writers to take the show in different new directions. And it doesn't come down to where it's happening. I think again, it's how it's delivered through the cinematography and the music and the camera work. But then also for me, a key element is just you got to care about the characters somehow. There are certain other shows out there. One of the reasons I've stuck with, say, The Walking Dead is I care. You know, how many countless zombie movies have there been? we've seen zombies before. It's what's actually happening to the people within that context, and that's why I stuck with Helix in the first season is the characters. I cared about them within the first episode. When there are other shows, there was I'll stay positive. If I don't care about the characters in the first episode, I usually don't come back for the second. And so I think it's a matter of seeing, like, right now I'm glad that Peter's there. It's nice to see him walking around and coherent and helping people. Instead of, although he was pretty awesome as the Vector King, and so I think whether it's on an island, whether it's in Paris, whether it's in an Arctic biolab, what's important for me is, do I care about the characters? What concerned me about the last episode of season 1 is Alan torturing someone. Because in my mind, he was the archetype of the good guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going to happen? And then connected to that is in this episode when Sarah's like, the Texas dude asks her, do you believe he blew up that building? I'm like, what building? So it's stuff like that fascinates me, and it looks like it's continuing, in that I actually care about these people. Where it all takes place is almost secondary. It's how it's delivered, and whether they're still good guys, in the show. Did any of that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'm with
Okay.
you. I want to
Okay.
I want to sort of take an intermission here and ask a question of everybody. I know we planned this for 30 minutes. How many of you want to keep it going? Because I think we have some more questions we can explore here that are interesting. So if any of you want to hang on and keep this going, I say we just keep going for another few minutes or so.
I'm okay with that.
I have a question that I'm putting in the chat right now. When will we have Justice for Doreen / Cat Lemieux, we love you? I was really, Tim and I talked before the season premiere, and he said, dead people are coming back, right? They're dead characters. They're bringing them back. And I'm like, the first thought in my mind was, could they possibly bring back Doreen somehow? I don't know. But that's been one of our most popular characters for us from season 1, even though one of the shortest lived cast members, I guess. So I don't know if that has an answer. I just want to put it out there for the world.
Connected to that is, I remember at the beginning of the first season, I was fairly confident Ballesteros was a sociopath. From the ease with which he killed her, and the scene when he burns the dead, frozen, psychotic monkeys in the snow. If you go back and watch it, when he first lights the match, he gets this little smile on his face, and like he's taking joy out of doing this, and that's one of the symptoms of a sociopath, or maybe it's a psychopath, and that's burning things and seeing creatures suffer. But then all of a sudden,
But did he know that they were alive? Did he know that they were going to feel the suffering? I understood it to be that he thought they were dead, and then when they were screaming, he realized that they were still alive under the polar ice cap or whatever.
Dead or alive, I wouldn't be smiling while I'm burning, former live monkeys or whatever. But somehow, so he goes from this dangerous, psychotic killer of Doreen to, by the end of the season, people are loving him as a hero. And I'm like, there is a strange shift in the perceptions regarding him, and if they do bring him back, I'm curious to see in what light he'll be. Was he putting on airs by the end of season 1?
And I'm not going to lie to you, if he was a homely guy playing him, that shift probably would not have happened. Just saying.
Okay.
Well, come on. I mean, you can look at Mr. Ganymede, and I would say even I am looking at him going, damn, he fine,
Yeah.
But my thing is, I really want to know sort of, from season 1, this is another dangling sort of question of how are they going to come back into season 2? One theory I have, and I think I mentioned it on last week's episode, but essentially it's, are we going to have Miguel's character, one of the surviving brothers, along with Sister Anana and maybe adopted brother Ballesteros, maybe they're out with, maybe there's a subplot around the children that they, that were part of this big scheme that Hataki launched so many years ago. So maybe Julia's story is not the only story when it comes to that. Maybe that's how they come in. What do you think?
I'd be curious. You guys probably have more access to some of the bigger players like Steven Maeda, or producers or actors. I would be curious to know how much Cameron Porsande, the original writer, I don't even know if I'm saying his name correctly, how much of this he had planned in advance. Like, did he just write a show about an Arctic biolab? Or did he have this whole realm figured out, like George R.R. Martin, something that would just take, decades and decades and decades? And I think that's a big question right there is do they have this master plan where they will tie missing children in Brazil to the Arctic, to Paris, to an island? Or is it each season, are they just going, okay, now what?
Yeah.
That would be a question I have. Go ahead.
My understanding is, and we did talk to Cameron briefly, not really. A lot of it was off the record, actually, and we did record a little bit of a segment where he thanked some of the fans that we aired on one of our podcasts last year. But we did speak with him, and not trying to paraphrase him or quote him, but I believe he said that he had created essentially the first season, kind of the story,
Okay.
the rough out of the first season thematically. So
Okay.
I don't think, and also I don't know how accurate this is, but I'm not sure what his involvement is with the show at this point in time.
Okay.
Because he hasn't really publicly done anything with the show that I've seen in a
Okay.
long time. He is credited on the show as the creator still on the credits.
Yeah.
But from what I have heard people talking about is that they may be going someplace different, trying to go someplace differently than he originally thought. I'm not
Well,
certain,
all
but
bets are off then. I mean, it's really just what each individual writer decided to do at the start of the season. That's so. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
And I kind of said earlier today, I said, I'm not certain if I'm 100% certain of liking where they're going with the show this season. But once again, it's Helix, and we haven't been shown all the cards yet.
Mm.
So I can't make up my mind yet. I mean, I didn't dislike the first episode. I'm not sure if I'm going to like the entire episode, the entire departure of the entire season after I look at it as a whole. But there's still a lot more to fill in here, and I'm right,
You just haven't seen enough yellow goo yet.
That's right.
Let's talk about the yellow goo really quick, though.
Oh God, can we not?
I
so
think
bad.
It's creepier than black goo. I think we kind of came to this realization when we watched the live broadcast Friday night that it's creepier because it's almost like it's more identifiable. So I want to know who to credit either on the writer's staff or producers or Steve or whoever, because I think it's a stroke of brilliance for them to make that change. So it's a similar threat in terms of it being a virus, I guess, but it actually has gotten scarier, just like we said earlier. It's gotten scarier with that sort of familiarity, and it's I guess going to happen on this island where it's supposed to be a utopia.
Well, this is going to be gross. I want to know, because when I wrote about it, I called it yellow pustules.
Yeah.
Because to me they looked at but then it's on me. It's like, well, so I don't know. I'm curious. I would like to see them burst one, or cut one open.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because I want to know: is it like a solid? Is it plant life, or is that like these pus-filled globules of some kind of yellow fluid?
Well, we're going to find out.
We'll find out more. Yeah.
Well, Steven, there's been lots of commentary about how, just here and there, I mean, if you follow the Helix writers on Twitter, they actually have a group account, and then we follow a lot of them individually. But they've been commenting all summer about how they've been grossing themselves out and outdoing themselves. So I think they have some crazy things in store. And I know, like, that kind of stuff, I don't know. I think it was like cauliflower to me, which
Okay.
I thought to be comical in the beginning of the episode, and then in the last few scenes, I was cringing just like everybody else.
I
So
think
I had a question though.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, real quick, talking
Go.
about the yellow goo or whatever. But Narvik is still in play, right? Because didn't the captain on the ship ask, or somebody asked, is it Narvik?
Yeah.
They look like they're looking for Narvik still. So even
is
if
a
this
great
is a new
question.
strain of something horrible, Narvik is not off the table, right?
I believe that's the case because the commander on the ship, the woman on the ship did ask if it was Narvik. Plus, we do know that roughly it's about a year after the end, I believe, of last season from when we saw
Right.
Peter. And they were looking at the newspaper in Paris where it showed that the outbreak of Narvik was spreading.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I think it raises really interesting questions because the Coast Guard almost, they were assigned to investigate to aid the CDC. So it raises this question of, did Narvik reach some sort of global level in any way, shape, or form? Is it, did it go far beyond what we saw with that sort of test phase that they had, that the Scythe was responsible for, and where the heck's the Scythe? But we'll get to that later.
But I wonder if, because they've been calling Sarah hot zone, that suggests that she's been kind of skipping globally from place to place rather than sort of on targeted Narvik outbreaks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That she's just kind of going wherever these different diseases are versus, being the Narvik queen, so to speak.
Here's my theory on Sarah this season. Well, first of all, like Tim and I were like, where's her baby? Why is she out risking life and limb when she's got a new one at home? There's that, but I think
that's good daycare, man. Seriously.
Well, it is. I bet they have really good health insurance in the
Mm.
CDC. Let's put it that way. But with Sarah's newfound immortality, we have her being chastised by Neil's character, saying that she hasn't become like a special person just because she can't be hurt or, can't be killed or what have you. He says that she's become very reckless. So it seems like she's like on this crazy mission now that she has not only did she not die from cancer, but now she's like a super person. So it's going to be interesting.
But isn't the thing is Alan is human, and she's one of the 500. And I think one of the things that made Julia so special was that she was the offspring between a human and a 500, and that's why Ilaria wanted her so much. That's why the side sent there.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if Sarah did have if it's because like up until 500 were able to with humans. And, again, this is just a question I have answered to. If like one of the reasons was that Alan, or maybe she had an abortion. I don't know. But I do remember that it was a big aspect of season 1 that Julia was born of one of the 500 and a human.
I think you're onto something. I think that means, and I didn't even consider that, and I should have, because you're right. It was the big deal to get Julia. I think it wasn't just revenge against Hitaki. It was that she was special. You're right. So in this way.
Speaking of which, Hitaki has to be back. If Hitaki is not back this season, fortunately, like when I was writing the review and I was trying to get screenshots from the first episode of season 2, they had that commercial at the very, very end. And I was able to pull those 2 images of Hitake, and I swear I can't tell. It looks like it's Julia on the table. And so for me, almost synonymous with Helix is Hitake. He is a central character, and I hope he's back sooner than later.
I agree.
Well, I have good news and bad news on that front.
Bastardo.
But I just want to say my piece about. So Sarah, I think that means she's probably hiding her baby from Ilaria.
Well, if that's why Alan has the baby that is Caleb on the island.
We're connecting dots.
You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
And then Ilaria somehow is connected to the island people, and they don't know it. So yeah, there's a lot that could happen there, I think. But let's jump into Hataki. It's a very beloved character for a lot of reasons. Firstly, the actor that plays the character. But what do you guys think could possibly happen with his plot? Let's kind of look into the future and think about what we want to happen. The only thing that I've seen so far, other than the glimpse in the sort of the outro teaser reel from last week's episode, was he is actually in one of the pre-season videos that they released like 2 or 3 days before the premiere.
In the
And he
forest.
sneaks up on Julia in the woods and puts an axe to her neck.
Wait, guys, wait. I have to pop off.
All right.
I'd love to talk about Hataki, but I gotta feed my kid.
We
So,
will talk about it again.
Is this recording?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So you guys have some good conversation so I can listen to it later.
we
Take care,
will. We
Janelle.
will.
All right,
Okay.
thanks, guys.
We will talk to you soon.
All right.
So yeah, they dished that out like a day or two before, and I saw that picture out on Twitter. I'm like, that can't be from Helix, and I am on the Sci-Fi site watching kind of the teaser reel for this season, and sure enough, he comes up behind Julia and he says, "I knew they would send someone. I didn't think it would be you." So I guess we can go from there in terms of what we think his storylines are going to be, but I mean. Steven, I'm sure they could go anywhere with this, you know?
Man, it again comes back to have Hiroyuki Sanada reading his laundry list, and I would be engrossed. You know, he just there's something so Shakespearean about him. I know he has done Shakespeare before, but there's this level of intensity with him, and when it starts out, oh, he's a mad scientist. By the end of the season, you care about him because you see the love that he has for Julia. You know, so many layers to character, and I'm glad that they picked him because if they had picked a lesser actor, it would not have been powerful. So again, this season could be completely and radically different from anything expected or wanted because of all of the nerds that were brought on board. But as long as he's there delivering those lines, one of the most powerful scenes for me from the entire first season was in the last episode between him and Julia. And they played off of each other so well and so intensely. And it was there was minimal lines, but every twitch of like the cheek, every opening and closing of the eyelids was so powerful. And I'm looking forward to more of that. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's gone crazy. Maybe he's gone renegade from Ilaria because he wants to protect her. I mean, there are 1,000 different scenarios that we could come up with. As long as it's him that's doing it, that's what I'm looking forward to. And wait, and to go back to, you said you have good news and bad news.
Well, I want to let Hillary complete her thought here, and then I have some unverified intel. So
I just hope that we get to see Hero in a martial arts battle versus Steven Weber.
There we go.
Like, how kick-ass would that be?
I would buy that for $1.
Really? I know, right? No, I mean, you know, you just want to see him. You want to see him do anything, and you want to know whether he is still involved in this Ilaria Narvik business, or has he gone rogue? You know, what is his motivation now that his wife, or his partner, his wife is dead, and, you know, Julia's whatever she is she a double agent? Is she actually working for Ilaria? You know, where is he now? What is this deal?
Well,
I agree. I agree with you, Hillary. I think a great way to end season 2 would be Hitake, because right now, he radiates pure evil. I loathe the character with every fiber of my being, and the idea of Hitaki somehow taking him out in a gloriously beautiful and gory way would be very, very cool. I would like to see that. Yes.
And then a hug. first a hug. You know, that awkward hug he gives Neil Napier.
Right.
And he's like, what is that?
Just hug it out. That's his motto. Hug it
This is just business. Have you seen my new watch?
So before you spill the unverified intel bad news, Ryan, there's a great tweet out there from Shauna Wheeler that I wanted to kind of bring up to your attention.
Shauna.
She said she hopes Biasero shows up to kick Michael's behind, and also she poses this question. She's wondering if the kids on Hitaki's list are the island inhabitants.
Whoa.
That's interesting.
Okay, now I will say that on the access granted last year that they did on the website, I have not yet checked out the access granted for this year, but last year on the access granted on the website, they had the list of kids and where they had been, like, shipped to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't preclude them having been reshipped to San Germain Island, this mysterious island off the coast of Washington State. But they were all sent somewhere internationally.
Was the list in alphabetical order? Because the women's names that I caught of these
they were all
women
A
living
names.
there, they were all started with A.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there's a connection there somehow.
I really like that. That would explain a lot. It would also, I think, answer the question of how the other. It would definitely answer the question of how the other characters from season 1 are going to come back into this new narrative.
And so many of my questions still about Daniel and Mixa. Ugh.
Yes. Yes. Well, so the good news here first. We are in the process, and this is sort of a shameless plug, but I think everyone will be happy. We're going to have time to sit down with Mr. Miguel very soon. We're trying to solidify the date, but it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Nice.
We're also, I think, going to be talking with Mark Ganime fairly soon as well. So they were very, I think, apprehensive about talking to us before the season premiere for obvious reasons, but because they know we ask weird questions. But I think that's going to be a good thing. So we want to make sure that all of you watching out there, listening, chatting along with us, give us your burning questions for those interviews. The bad news, I have heard unverified, and I don't even know where, and that's why I take it with a grain of salt. But I think I heard that Hitake only comes back for a couple of episodes.
Okay.
I think that's got to be true, because if he's not credited at the beginning of the thing, right? At the beginning credits, then he's a special guest star. Yeah?
Well, that's true, but we had,
Jordan Hayes was a special guest star for all the way up through, I think, every episode last season. Jordan Hayes was a special guest star.
Well, we had Jerry Ryan, who was short-lived, I think 3 episodes. So I don't know. I'm hoping that the big question was, this guy is very busy. He's on a couple of other TV shows. So how even logistically did he rejoin the cast?
I watched Extant, and he plays the same character.
It's
Almost.
the same flipping character, is it not?
I love it.
Extant.
His name's like Schmitaki.
Exactly. Yeah. I think they could have a glorious crossover like they used to in the Marvel comic books. That would be awesome. If you're listening, Helix. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I think we're going to wind down now, though. We've been talking for about 55 minutes. I think we should go ahead and round out the hour, though. What do you guys hope to get out of both the next episode and the season itself? I know it's a broad question, but I want to hear sort of where you think we're going in the short term, and where do you want this to end up?
I'll jump in real quick before everybody else does, just to kind of get it out there quickly. I want to see at least one question from season 1 answered, and I'd like to see one more character from season 1. That's about it.
Only one question, and it's not a specific.
But I'm saying about the it could be about the baby. It could be anything, as long as they answer something that we don't know that we have a question to from season 1. That's all.
Well, I feel like that's going to happen, but okay, I get you. How about Hillary? You go next.
I anticipate that we're going to see Alan next in the second episode, for real, not just in a hood.
Right.
And I think we're going to see some more about the food source on the island and the connection to this, this botany lab or whatever that they have going, and possibly the nasty yellow goo that they're injecting into people, which grows, malignant cauliflower out of their faces. And I want to know, what I really want to know is about Alan. It's like, what is his deal? I mean, it was so weird seeing him actually being Alan Farragut versus the Vector King. I love seeing Neil being, not a monster, but like, there's as we said before, what happened in that gap that he's just like, oh hey, Captain America. Also, the new guy, I have mixed feelings. I need to see more from him.
I like the new guy. I'll go next, and I'm gonna let Steve. I'm gonna let you go last.
Thank you.
I like the new guy. I want to see more of him because I felt like he was providing. I mean, in a way, he was sort of like a tool for the writers to kind of explore with Sarah. What had happened. What her deal is. I wondered if there's a love interest thing there going on or not. But that's probably always a question. But in the next episode, I hope that we get to meet some people other than Brother Michael. I feel like it can't be just him sort of driving the whole herd of people, and they're just non-player characters.
Brother Michael.
Right. As much as I like Steven Weber, which is a lot, but one of the other things that really bothered me was that I haven't really seen any of his recent work in other sort of TV or movies all that much, but I automatically thought of Wings when I saw him on screen. For the season itself, I really hope that we get more into maybe what are the motivations of Ilaria and the Immortals, and sort of, is that going to be a fundamental shift, like I said, to the planet, if you will? Like, is there going to be some measure of success on their part? Otherwise, what's the peril, I guess, So what do you think, Steve?
For the next episode, I'm just a little bit more curious about that woman that she saw in the forest. It's one episode, and I think there's going to be a whole lot we have yet to experience, and I think obviously that woman is going to be part of it. For the whole season, Stephen King once wrote that for good horror, there's 3 levels. There's terror, which is knowing there's a monster at the door. There's horror, which is opening the door and seeing it, and then there's the gore factor, which is you see the monster holding the severed head with blood dripping down in the eyeball there. And one of the reasons I think the first season worked so well is because there was a good blend of the 3. And Stephen King wrote that you could tell that someone doesn't really know what they're doing when it comes to writing when they just go straight to the gore. And for me, say like with Walking Dead, every season has been brilliant, except midway through season 4, after the governor, that storyline ended, it just turned into a few episodes of let's just kill as many zombies and be as gory as possible. And I'm like, what happens to the writing? I give up on Walking Dead at that point. See the rest of the season. Is the gore cool, and it's good for elevating the blood pressure, and it'll probably help with ratings, but you need the terror and you need the horror. You need those first 2 stages first, and I hope they don't just, the more they amp up the gore, to me that's like a shortcut to writing. But my trust is, I have trust in Mr. Maida, and I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that if we get together and talk again at the end of season 2, we're going to look back at this conversation and go, man, do you remember when we said that? So that's what I'm hoping for. I want to learn more about people, and I hope there's a good blend of terror, horror, and gore. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I think we should do this again in a few weeks if people are available, because this was a lot of fun. But we also, I don't think we've touched upon the eyes, though. What's up with the eyes?
The eyes?
That was like a major subtle, not
also.
even so subtle theme.
I don't know.
The eye we could talk about. We could talk during the Twitter feed. One of the writers wrote, "You need to pay attention to colors and their symbolism." So I think eyes,
They
colors.
said the finger
I
too.
mean,
They said the
they're not-
finger.
yeah. Oh,
They're
wait,
they're
yeah,
leading us on a wild goose chase, guys.
see,
They're doing this on
I don't
purpose.
know. Okay, I'll be quiet because you said we have to keep this to an hour, and I'm about to bring up 5 more topics. But yeah,
That's okay.
I could do this in a few more weeks.
I'm challenging all of you here on the video, here on the Hangout tonight. Go ahead, jot these down because we can either discuss them on the regular show. I mean, Tim and I are going to have, we're happy to have guests on our recordings as well. So if you feel really strongly and want to come on those, I think we're going to introduce guest spots this season as well. So we'll definitely do that. I am all about doing some more of these fan casts as well. I think they're fun. We'll get more people to join in. If you're watching this on replay mode, then stay tuned for the next one. But with that, we'll wrap it up, and we're going to shut off the broadcast for now. And we hope to see everybody on the Twitters this coming Friday night for episode 2 of Helix. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys.